Hello and welcome to NBL Overtime Summit Shootout Edition. Peter Hawley, Derek Rucker have joined me to discuss the newest league concept, which I'll tell you what, as a player who hates defence, I absolutely love this. What it is, each team in the league across the month of January is going to pick a road game where they think they will score the highest amount of points. Now, across the month of January, the team that scores the highest amount of points, and you have to nominate the game that you will do this, well, they walk away with $50,000. And one lucky fan also has the chance to win $100,000 by selecting the game and selecting the points. We'll go into detail on how to get involved with that a little bit later. But the concept itself, it is celebrating offensive power and it is punishing terrible defensive teams. I love it.
I love it too. And again, the fact that it's an away game, I think, is what makes this even more enticing. The fact that you have to pick somebody that you're going to play on the road, go into an environment where now the fans, that team knows, they should all be looking at this ruck as a sign of disrespect. If your team is chosen, they think they can beat up on you in front of your home crowd. That's going to be fun to watch.
That's so true. But how do you pick a team and what strategy do you apply? And look, I'd be going right to NBL Plus, insider stats, exclusives, hit all those stats. I'm taking the lowest defensive rating team, any of the bottom three, I'm targeting them. Then I'm going for recent trends. Who looks bad and who do I think might be tired before we play them? And then I'm looking at bad rebounding teams, especially on the defensive end. We want extra shot opportunities.
This is going to be good. We're going to love it. Let's get into the Adelaide 36ers, and Montrez is going to tell us who they're selecting.
For the summer shootout, Adelaide has chosen the jack jumpers for our opponent. I think the reason why we chose them is because it gives us a test to actually put towards our offense against the top-rated team in the NBL as far as the defensive rankings. It's definitely going to test our offense in many different ways. Even to the game when we played them at home, it was a real nail-biter game that we ended up pulling out. So, it's definitely going to be one of those games where it's going to test our offense. And if you can actually score the ball to a higher clip versus the number 1 or 2 rated defense in the NBA, I think it'll be pretty good later on down the road.
That is a bold move. That is a bold move. First cab off the rank. We're taking one of the best defensive teams. Let's just make sure they've read the brief here on what's meant to be done. Tassie, a shock selection for me, first cab off the rank.
Definitely a shock selection to me as well, especially you think about on the road as well, MyState Bank Arena, Tasmania. One thing they do down there is protect home court. But Adelaide 36ers, they continue to show they can put points on the board between Kendrick Davis, DJ, Montrez, Isaac Humphries. This is in January, so Jarrell Martin get a little bit fitter as well. He's playing more minutes, so they can put points on the board. But again, Tassie, it's very interesting. We have a look at their big three here. Scoring is not an issue in Adelaide.
Oh, no.
Well, Pete, what you just alluded to, maybe Adelaide have a different perspective. They're not looking at trying to disrespect somebody. They're looking at how good we are offensively. You know what? We're going to go after one of the best defensive teams on their court and give them buckets.
Well, they're going to become with confidence because I'll tell you what, they scored a whopping 77 points the last time these two teams matched up. So we've seen you probably want to be getting into the triple figures if you want to take this one out. You'd expect probably 110 to 130 is the region.
130.
130.
I mean, we'd get some double.
Dude just went for 51.
We might have double overtime, triple overtime. Maybe one of those will help. But I think that I think it's very similar. They'll be looking at some certain matchups too, being like, what guards can contain Kendrick and DJ? Sean McDonald's back. Can they really shut down both of them? But also, the power forward spot's been a bit of a weakness at times for Tassie. Can Montrez get off against Tassie down in Tassie? But the Ant Army won't be happy with that one. Any team going in there thinking they can put up points on Tassie is going to be fun to watch.
Very, very dangerous move there, but I like it and I support it. Speaking of Ant Army, let's go over to the Red Army because Mark Arena is going to tell us who the Perth Wildcats are picking.
Yeah, we're choosing the Tasmania Jack Jumpers on January 12th at MyState Bank Arena. Yeah, we chose a really strong team on purpose. We felt a lot of other teams would have chosen kind of easier opponents, and we wanted to do the opposite of that. We also wanted to challenge our guys, and in doing that, we want to give them the full amount of money that the club receives if we win it. Also, our mascot, Wilbur, who I spoke to, said he didn't know what a jack jumper was, and he's terrified about driving in Tasmania.
Well, I've got to imagine that Wilbur, the Wildcat, made the pick because Tassie, the second best defensive team in the competition, are getting whacked twice.
It's not just Tassie being the second best defensive team in the comp. At home, in Tassie, it is very hard to score the ball. Tassie have had their struggle scoring the ball as well, which we'll talk about. But one thing they don't do on their home floor is allow you to run up a score. So I respect it, as Mark Arena said, that they want to challenge themselves. But there's some other teams that if I'm trying to win some cash, I would try and challenge myself again, but it'll be fun to watch.
You know who's going to feel the most disrespected this evening? Scott Roth. He's not going to be happy. Those two teams, right off the bat, elected to play against the Jack Jumpers in Tasmania. At home, Pete. Their defensive rating is 98.2.
I actually think he's going to love it. I think he's going to sit back and he's just going to be having a cigar being like, welcome down to Tassie, my friends. We don't let you score at all.
Well, let's have a look at the last time these two teams matched up. Now, they've played twice already this season. And again, nothing jumping off the page there. 84 points, 88. That's probably not what you would expect is going to win this competition. But hey, I've made some terrible predictions before, and this won't be the last.
Fools, I'm going to go a step further.
Oh.
Those teams are both losing in Tasmania.
Well, this is in the same weekend too. So Adelaide,
they're catching L's.
Adelaide are going to be playing in the same weekend as Tassie. So Tassie have back-to-back weekends to pack out My State Bank Arena. I'm with you on that. But what Perth do have, they got offensive weapons as well. If Bryce gets off, Elijah Pepper, Ben Henschel, Keanu Pinder, if they all come up for the party, they can put up 110 plus, which is probably going to be needed to win this.
Is this one of those ones where you're not really too concerned with who you're playing? This is when you go into it, you're just going to go, bang, we've got the offensive weapons, bang, because it seems like that's what teams have done.
No, well, you should be very concerned.
You should be. But it appears with the selections we've seen so far that they're not.
Well, obviously, Pete and I don't agree with these selections. I'll tell you right now, Brisbane, Adelaide, and Perth are the teams that I would have wanted to go play at.
Yeah.
Well, Tasmania in the crosshairs. Let's have a look at who they're going to be playing. And Fabian Krislovic is going to do the selecting for us.
Hey, it's Fabian Krislovic here from the Tasmania Jack Jumpers. And during this year's NBL Summer Shootout, we're calling out the Southeast Melbourne Phoenix. They recently got a win against us at home in front of our fans in Lonnie, so we need some payback for that. And also, this is our club's first time playing at the State Basketball Centre, so we're going to look to put on a show and get a lot of points. Up the Jackies.
The last game over there went to double overtime, was it? I believe. So there has been some big points put up there, but again, Southeast Melbourne, no slouch on defence, another interesting choice.
No, I don't mind this choice. Again, especially when you look at teams, like we talked about Tassie on the road versus at home, they're two very different teams. Southeast Melbourne, do they play particularly better at home? Probably not. I think they're very solid across the board. But now they've got Josh King at the helm. They're a pretty good defensive team as well. So Tassie as a whole, there's a bit of an anomaly here offensively. Do they have enough to put points on the board? Or does this incentive help them? Everyone wants a bit of extra cash, right?
That's true. Tasmania can score, but they haven't done it consistently this season. But my concern is Southeast Melbourne. Is this improved defense actually legit? It did not hold up in Perth the other night. They got blown out.
They're going to need to have at least Milton Doyle, a 30-piece, and Jordan Crawford, 25, I think.
Well, they never play well in the same game, Pete.
So they're saving it for the summer shootout.
Right,
That's what they
got
knew about the
you.
summer shootout
Got
for all
you.
of us.
Right.
It makes sense now.
You look at that, games 1-5. Milton Doyle there, 15.8. But both of these, again, we say this about every team. Every team has rosters that can explode for a whole lot of points. So again, and I said it before, maybe it's not up to who they're playing. Maybe it's going to be a surprise pack and Tasmania is going to get 113 loaded on them.
Well, we've seen some big performances individually. Chris Golding, James Bateman. If we sat here 1 week and it was a summer shootout and Milton Doyle had 50, none of us would be surprised. He has the capabilities of doing something like that.
Well, it's not just the teams that are getting involved in this one and have the chance to get some cash. It's the fans at home as well. If you love cash and you love QR codes, you're going to love this because there's one right there that you need to scan. You can win $100,000 if you pick and predict the game and the score that it's going to be. You can go with your team, or maybe a team's playing yours, and you reckon they're going to get busted on the defensive end. It's all happening. You can get involved in that QR code. Terms and conditions apply. All the details at nbl.com.au/shootout. We're cutting to a bloke. Plenty up next. Hello and welcome back to NBL Overtime Summer Shootout Edition. And it's time to crack into who Melbourne United are choosing. And to help us do that, United superstar and former NBA champion Ian Clark. Welcome in. Ian, who are you going to be loading the points up on?
What's going on? Appreciate you guys. I think we're going to pick Adelaide this year on the first. For the summer shootout, that's what we're going to pick.
I see it's going to be the first game off the ranks in this new inaugural summer shootout. You, CG, you've always been elite scorers. You don't need any extra incentive to run the points up the board, but knowing that it is there, how excited are you for that?
I mean, it'll be pretty fun. Obviously, it's something new. I think it just gets some excitement around it. The fans will be around it as well. So I think it should be fun.
What was the process that you guys went through in selecting Adelaide? How much say did you actually have in it? You've got some other superstar guards there that can put the ball in the bucket too. So talk us through that, IC.
I think it was more so, for me, it was, it's one of my former teams, being able to play there before and kind of know the rims a little bit. They're a little friendly. Hopefully they'll be friendly for us. But is this just something that we felt like it would be good for? We got guys, like you said, we got guys that can light it up and get hot. So hopefully that'll be the game that we could do it.
And as soon as I heard about this concept, the first player that I thought about was Chris Goulding. Is this whole thing, it almost feels like it's designed for him to have another explosion.
I mean, he can have an explosion any night, and I don't think he needs any extra motivation for it. Obviously, we still want to win the game, and that's the most important thing. But being able to do that, and if he has a good game, it's more beneficial for us.
Now, I see this whole summer shootout is going to build rivalries up. It's going to extend on some that have already been there. But Adelaide and Melbourne, it's going to be hostile at the Entertainment Centre, your former team. Do you thrive more off a crowd knowing when they're fully against you that it's ready to put some points on the board?
It's always fun to kind of silence the crowd, but at the same time, the mindset is still going there just to win the game. Knowing Adelaide and how loud and crazy their fans get, it's going to be a great environment. When I was there, they would get loud for us, and I'm sure it's going to be the same, especially when we get there.
What have you made IC of the current offensive explosion? We saw CG go for 46, and then James Bateman went for 51. Surely you got 50 plus in you.
Yeah.
No, man, it's been great. Obviously, it's good for the league, but guys being able to show what they're capable of. The explosion with CG. Even though I practice with him every day, seeing them go off and kind of get it rolling like that, man, it was just fun to be out there to watch it and be a fan for a split second. Obviously, it's in the heat of the game, and then watching James, do his thing in Brisbane the other day, that was pretty special. So happy for those guys.
Well, Ian, thanks for joining us, and make sure you enjoy this little fever break.
Thank you. Appreciate you guys.
Well, there it is. The Adelaide 36ers, who Melbourne United have in their sights. That's going to be round 15, January 4th. You seem quite happy with the decision?
Yeah, I think it's a good pick for them especially. And again, everything that we've seen so far last week, the rivalry's going to be there a little bit more. It's going to be a little bit extra.
I love the term, and I've said it a lot. The sense of theatre from Melbourne United here is fantastic to choose the Adelaide 36ers.
Well, I think it all probably got picked before everything that went down, but it makes it so much more exciting. It's going to be the first game off the rank for the summer shootout, and I'm expecting there'll be fireworks, and I reckon there's going to be a lot of points too, Ruck.
And let's be honest, Adelaide can't defend. They do not defend anywhere well. And the object of this is to score as many points as you can on the road. And Melbourne United have been really smart here with this choice. I like it. And I think Adelaide will take a little bit of offense, and Mike Wells will try and rev them up to see if they can be better.
Well, let's have a look at the games this season they've faced off so far. Of course, one of them was very, very memorable, that round 9 one. But I'll tell you what, if it gets that crazy, which I don't think it will, 113 points, that's probably one that can get it done. 106 could potentially get it done. That's 2 triple-figure scores.
Yeah, they're both at home. So that's John Cain Arena scores. This is going into the Adelaide Entertainment Centre. We've been there. We understand what it's like. Adelaide obviously live for those games in front of their home crowd. But the fact that this is the first 2 times they meet after everything that went down just makes it so much more exciting. I cannot wait for this one, for it all to kick off. I'm expecting a lot of points. Throw defense out the window for this one. Just let everything happen between the white lines and we'll see what happens.
And another key factor is which teams normally play fast. If you play fast normally like these 2 teams do, there's not much adjustment that is needed to try and get a big total on the board.
Well, let's have a look at the offensive and defensive ratings for Melbourne United and the Adelaide 36ers there. You can see the offensive rating right there, number 2. Probably right up there as one of the favourites in this competition to take it out.
Well, it is, and even more alarming for Adelaide. Look at their defensive rating. As Ruck said, they don't defend well, and that's probably putting it lightly. Right now, they're like, we're going to score more than you, which is something you were very understanding with, Felix. So don't worry about defence. We want to see as many points on the board as possible, but will they take more pride in this, knowing that you've been selected on your home floor for a team to try and run up the score against you?
Well, it's time to check out the Sydney Kings and to announce who they're taking on. It's Kuat Noi.
We only got 2 options for away games in January. Phoenix, Bullets. Let's flip a coin to see who we choose. Bullets, I'm already the father of the Gold Coast Rollers. Want to be the father of Southeast Queensland.
Didn't the Gold Coast Rollers beat them every single time? Didn't they wipe the floor with them? This
Correct.
father of the Gold Coast Rollers that keeps going around is unbelievable.
I like the pick, though. The Brisbane Bullets, I like that. I think that's a good pick for them. The Sydney Kings, you're starting to look at matchups where they can get an advantage. I know they're smaller, so they have to go against the Twin Towers of Rocco and Tyler Harrison, the way they're playing. You talk about how good James Bateman was. But this is a matchup that will really suit the Sydney Kings. What was it, 2 years ago, where Sydney nearly won by 50 up in Brisbane? Might be some little flashbacks there. They're trying to put a lot of points on the board.
Well, you want to go somewhere where you feel good. And I think Sydney for years have played well in Brisbane. Melbourne United are another team that play well in Brisbane. And I think Sydney, when that time comes, they're going to be really cooking. We saw what they were able to do against them earlier in the season. So I like the choice from Sydney. Brisbane, again, Justin Schuller wants that team to be so good on the defensive end, but they just aren't.
Well, let's have a look at the last time these two teams matched up. They put 91 points on the board, which of course probably isn't going to win this, but this roster itself is worthy of an absolute explosion.
Yeah, it's not going to be enough. You think we're looking at 110 plus, I think, for a score here. You're going to have to, because everyone else is going to be really trying to run up the score right till the end of the final siren. And you also think about the good defensive teams. In a game that you know that's your summer shootout game and a team's coming in, does the defense kind of go out the window? Even if you're a very good defensive team, because you're like, in the end, if we win 118 to 112, we still might have the highest score and we go home with some extra cash in our pockets.
And you know what? Maybe Brisbane slow the tempo down. Maybe they walk it up. Maybe they change and play slower. And like, Sydney, you might beat us, but you're not winning the summer shootout to boot.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. It's going to, as you say, it's going to be interesting to see just how high the scores can get up, because I want to see 130. Sometimes I don't live in reality. I would love to see 150 or something like that. But let's have a look at the defensive ratings here and the offensive rating for the Sydney Kings. Now, the Kings, a lot of room to improve, but the Brisbane Bullets defensive rating, that's probably the one that we focus in here.
For sure. And again, the direct matchups, I think, personnel-wise, individually, and the way the style of play between Sydney at their very best too, by the time I think this game rolls around, they're going to have found very close to their full potential, which makes it a very damaging proposition. They've got plenty of time. They've got a fever break. They've got plenty of games. If they hit their full speed by this game, look out.
Something about the concept also that I like is coaches can now say, guys, you see this? This event is built around scoring. Do you have enough pride in yourself, if you're not a good defensive team, to change? Schuller can use this as motivation to ramp his team up and be like, guys, we've got to get better. So even though you're trying to get better for this specific game, it can benefit you in a larger perspective.
Well, there's a couple of teams that are targeting the Brisbane Bullets on the defensive end, but who are they going to choose in the summer shootout? It's Stu Lash to let us know.
The Brisbane Bullets have nominated the Adelaide 36ers for the NBL Summer Shootout. Our game versus the 36ers is January 31st in Adelaide. We've also understand that the Cairns Taipans and the Sydney Kings have chosen us as their Summer Shootout opponent. Certainly had our rivalries with the Cairns Taipans over the years, and knowing that the Sydney Kings are a benchmark organization in this league, I'm sure our guys will be up for the challenge and look forward to a great event.
Man, I love Stu Lash, but that felt like a hostage video there. I'm going to need you holding up a newspaper. I'm going to need you holding up a newspaper
He's in
with
America.
today's
You
date
don't know
on it.
what time it is. Give the guy a break.
I like the pick, though. And again, this is towards one of the later games, right at the end of the summer shootout as well. So there might be a target score in mind for Brisbane here when they go down to Adelaide. You look at the matchup. What concerns me, again, here is, can they win the battle of the big matchup? So it's going to be Harrison, Sikorsky, Bannon versus Harrell, Martin at the end of January, Jerome Martin at the end of January, and Isaac Humphries. And then you've got Mitch Norton, James Bateman versus KD and DJ Vasiljevic. Can they win those matchups to try and put enough points on the board?
Well, one thing you know against Adelaide, from an offensive perspective, you are going to get shot attempts, especially down there at the Adelaide Entertainment Center. They play fast. We know the high degree of entertainment that they play with, and a lot of that's based on scoring. So if you can slow them down a little bit, they're going to give you opportunities to put points on the board. That's a very exciting choice and a big-time game that I'll really have my eyes glued to.
It's crazy to think this, but neither of these teams have played yet so far this season. So to choose a team that you've just been watching on the TV and say, hey, I'm coming for you, is almost more disrespectful than just playing them. And
no doubt. And again, they would have seen a lot of things. You can look at numbers, but the eye test, if you're a player, if you're a coach, if you're a club, you see a team that just does not want to defend, which has been Adelaide for a lot of this season. That's what they looked in at. The word disrespect can be thrown around a lot when it comes to the summer shootout. I love it.
Oh, it's going to be entertaining. It's going to be high stakes hoops, the NBL Summer Shootout. Plenty more coming up next. Welcome back to the NBL Summer Shootout Selection Show. And the New Zealand Breakers, it's their turn to see who they're going to load the points up against. And let's cut to them right now to see who they chose.
Hi, Coach Petter here. For our Summer Shootout game, we are up against Southeast Melbourne Phoenix. Our last matchup against them was a tough one. So we are looking forward to challenging ourselves again and improving on our performance.
Coach Kopp, I just got to ask, how on earth did you get those tan lines right there? How can you get sunburnt just on the neck, but they've chosen the Southeast Melbourne Phoenix? What do you think of it?
Well, I think it's smart for New Zealand also to take travel into account too. So that's just a nice little direct flight over to Melbourne. You can go in there feeling good about yourself. They performed well at John Cain, albeit it was against Melbourne United, but I don't mind the pick from the New Zealand Breakers.
Well, having PJC and the ability to create against the Southeast Melbourne guards, I think is a significant advantage for New Zealand. I like the choice.
Well, the two teams have met twice so far and not exactly blown them out of the water points-wise. One of the games only scoring 62 points. Now, I'll tell you, you might want to double that if you want to be winning the $50,000 here. But again, anything can happen. We've seen two players go off for 46 and 51 in the last couple of weeks. So absolutely anything can happen. You can't write off any teams at the moment.
And the other thing is to remember is if you leak as much as points, if you do happen to lose this game, but you lose at 115 to 120, that 120 for the Phoenix won't count. It's only your score. So just run up the score.
Well, they've chosen Southeast Melbourne. Let's see who Southeast Melbourne are going to choose to go up against. And Angus Glover's going to let us know.
They're coming for you!
Hey guys, it's Angus Glover here from the Southeast Melbourne Phoenix. We have chosen Perth as our shootout round opponent. They play a fast-paced game, we play a fast-paced game. Looking forward to going over there. Feels like we go over there every second week, but that's the schedule. There's no hotter place than going into Perth and playing at a packed RAC arena. We're looking forward to going over there, taking the points and taking the money.
They've come in, they've brought the kids in to make it all look soft and nice, and they've given a little dig at the schedule makers.
Yeah, they have. And Angus Glover talking about the Red Army as well is a little bit ironic as well. I think I must say, I like the pick. I like the pick against the Perth Wildcats. You talk about who I would pick. Brisbane's up there. Adelaide, yes, defensive ratings. But Perth, they love to play quick, as Glover said. They like to push the ball offensively. Defensively takes a back seat at home so far we've seen this season. I like that pick from them.
And this will be their second time having played in front of the Red Army out there. We know what happened last time, the famous 12-1 chant by Josh King, but I like the choice also. Phoenix can get some numbers out there.
Well, they're the sort of numbers we want to see right there. 96 and 100. And I reckon they can get even better than that. As we've said before, around 100, so maybe I'll bring it back a bit, maybe 120. Maybe that's where 120 you'd expect will get it done. But the Illawarra Hawks are up next, and they are going to be selecting the Cairns Taipans.
Oh, interesting. It's the first time we've had a Cairns pick, and again, I understand why you'd try and do, especially the Illawarra Hawks, how well-rounded they are. The equal opportunity offense can really have multiple guys go off in a game. But this is happening in January. When Cairns have a fever break, they have a chance to get healthy. We saw in rounds 2 and 3 at full strength and healthy ruck, Cairns can be very good defensively.
Right now, Pete, they're at the bottom of the standings in terms of defensive rating. They are not doing a good job, but they've had a lot of their top players out. They'll be much better defensively. Going to Cairns and trying to score 100 points is really difficult.
Do you think Illawarra has been sucked in a little bit by the stats here, when they've obviously the Taipans have had a lot of players out. They've looked at the ratings and they've said that's who we want to play, but they're not going to be playing the Taipans that have put together those sort of ratings.
Yeah, I think they have for sure. And when you look at this in round 1, this is probably the most enticing thing for Illawarra, right? That was at Hoops Fest. So things have changed since then. Things will change again by the time we get to the summer shootout in January. I think they have been a little bit taken by guard.
Well, taken by guard. There we go. Well, we've got a new saying to go with the summer shootout there, but it's the Cairns Taipans' turn. Pedro Bradshaw is going to let us know who they're picking.
Hi, I'm Pedro Bradshaw, and on behalf of the Ken Frost Homes Cairns Taipans, we select the Brisbane Bullets for our summer shootout opponent. We chose the Brisbane Bullets because you know you can't have a summer shootout without the Sunshine Showdown. We can't wait to play our neighboring NBL team on the 17th of January in Brisbane, Vegas. The summer shootout sounds like an exciting new challenge, which we always love. I like that they're bringing a new and unique competition to the crazy season that's already going on. We look forward to seeing you there.
Man, if you don't just listen to Pedro Bradshaw speak and don't smile, there is something wrong with you. These are the friendliest guys on earth.
And I like it. They've already got the rivalry. We're going to see new rivalries, renewed rivalries coming out of the shootout. They're going against their interstate competitors, against the Bullets. And I think there's a soft spot for us all. We'd like to see the Cairns Taipans get some extra cash, wouldn't we?
Well, I like what Adam Ford has done this year. I like the way that they intended to play before all the injuries occurred. But once they get everybody back, they have enough potency in that offensive lineup to be able to put up 100 at the Brisbane Entertainment Center. Don't doubt it.
Who's the one team you think that's going to be able to take this one out? If you've got to give your predictions right now, and I'll test your memory over who's picked what, but who's the one team you think that if you were to, as a betting man, you would go towards?
Now I'm just had a bit of a blank here.
It's tough, but I'll go with Melbourne United. I think Melbourne United can get it done.
I think the Sydney Kings. I think the Sydney Kings, by the time January rolls around, they've picked a very, very good matchup for them on the road against the Bullets. I think the Sydney Kings can probably...
Certainly give you the month of January is going to be lit up with the NBL, and you can get involved as well at home. It's not just the teams, as you said, taking home the cash. Check out that QR code right there. All you got to do is pick the team, and you got to pick the score. Petey, sometimes there's harder ways to make $100,000.
There is. I'm very excited for this. And as you said, I'm a huge fan of QR codes. You said that earlier in the show, so I would be definitely getting on that QR code and signing up.
Terms and conditions apply. Derek Rucker, Peter Hooley, thank you very much for joining us. Special edition of the Summer Shootout for NBL Overtime. The month of January, one team's walking away with $50K and a fan walking away with $100,000. Straight cash.